a very warm welcome to you all, and a special welcome to our speakers this evening. On the order of my screen, Daniela Wolf, Angela Jackson, Christina Luke, and Ionit at our Women Empowerment event. And a thank you to the host. Well, I'm hosting. I thank myself. I was going to say a thank you to the founder, Ritu Sharma, who has created this platform for women to share unashamedly them. So we are recording, and if you don't want to be seen, if you turn your camera off, but we'd love you to be seen. So bear with me. I'm Carol Edmondson, and I have been volunteering on the KaushalyaUk platform for the last 3 years, and I love the mission that is women empowerment, and also Ritu Sharma, Women Empowerment Ambassador, who created this platform especially for moments like these. So a bit about KaushalyaUk. It's a registered not-for-profit community organisation created to empower and uplift women. And Ritu has and continues to dedicate her life to bringing women of this world to find their own power and true worth. It's grown organically since its inception to empower women, connect communities, raise awareness of issues that affect women, with the unique objective of KaushalyaUk not just to support those in dire need, but also to support women who are on a journey to create a life of fulfillment through their personal, professional, and financial growth. The projects include education, personal and professional growth, health and well-being, financial education and entrepreneurship, as well as workshops and social events. KaushalyaUk has a social media presence, which includes a WhatsApp group, Facebook page, and the website, as well as a YouTube channel. Facebook page, we'll put the details in the chat, and also the recording of this will be going on the YouTube channel as well. Sorry, I need to take a breath. So without further ado, I know Ritu, I'll ask you to say a few words afterwards, if you're okay with that. So without further ado, I would like to ask you, if you're not speaking, to put your mics on mute before I introduce our first guest speaker of the evening hour time, who is Ionit Sabatello, joining us from London. Ionit is an award-winning love and relationships healer, and a beautiful one as well, and spiritual mentor who helps women transform their life and shift energetically and emotionally from their experiences in relationships that still hold them back, so that they can attract more love, healthy relationships, and success, while having clarity of their own inner wisdom. In less than a year, during the pandemic in 2020, Ionit overcame the depression she had suffered caused by toxic relationships. I'm sure we can all experience one or two of those. She launched her healing business in 2021 and received an award in 2022 from the High Net Connect community for her unique spiritual work and high achievers and their families around mental health, well-being, and relationships. Ionit, it gives me great pleasure. It's been a while in this coming together, but you're here now, and it gives me great pleasure to say the floor is yours. Your 20 minutes Please take it
Thank you
away.
so much. Thank you, Carol, and thank you, Ritu, for having me here today. And thank you, everyone who is joining us. I understand I don't need to present myself, so thank you so much, Carol, for this starting point. So let's just start with what I do and how I define what I do. So I help people with love and healthy relationships and personal success. And love for me is not something that we're just feeling towards someone else. It's actually a state of being. It's a decision that we want to make on a daily basis with how we look outwards from within towards any situation that is in front of us or any person that is standing in front of us. Love is actually in spirituality and with energy work has the highest frequency of being, meaning it's where we can meet joy and happiness and curiosity and willing to learn and joyfulness and playfulness and all these juicy things that we have in life. So this is actually what love means. And when we are in that state, at least as much as possible as we can while we're not journeying the other side of it, um, this is where we can attract better things into our lives and be our best version. So this is love. Healthy relationships is very simple. How you relate to yourself is how you relate to others, and you can have good relationships as much as good that you are to yourself. If you are talking to yourself, thinking to yourself, or behaving, even when no one is watching, in a certain way, that is what kind of energy that you are sending with you to the universe. And again, people will react to it, and this will be the conversation and the communication that you will have with other people around you. So for me, my mission is to help people to just love themselves more, speak to themselves better with compassion, so that when they come into interactions with others, this is what will come across in any conversation. And the last bit is personal success. With that, is as it said, whatever you define to yourself as a success, as a moment of transformation that was challenging for you or is challenging for you along your journey, and you set it up for yourself. You define for yourself what it is that you want. I know women that tried to conceive, and once they have a baby, this is their personal success. I have people that work with me on career brackets or relationship brackets around coming closer to their husbands or getting away from toxic relationship, which is again a success story. Depends where you are on your journey. So this is how I can help people with, and what I'm aiming to do when I work with people either in my groups or in private sessions. And it's mainly to bring people back to who they are, back to their heart, so that they can have the clarity of their own truth. And from there, go outside towards the world. So a little bit of a story of my personal story and how I got to be where I am now. And it might sound a little bit dramatic, so I'm sorry in advance, but I love the drama effect. I'm in Aries as well, so it comes along with me. My story starts when I decided to die. 7 years ago, I wished never to be born. I wished for everything in my life to just stop from existing, and I didn't know how to do it. I asked the universe, make it stop, help me to not feeling what I felt. I didn't know at that time that what I was feeling was due to lack of boundaries of years, being a people pleaser for years, having no self-worth or self-confidence whatsoever, even though I was quite present in everyone's life, and I was always coming with a lot of personality. But inside, I was just dying slowly and slowly because I wasn't truthful to myself. I didn't fulfill myself, and I lived someone else's life. I was under continuously of criticism, mainly from myself. I can say that today, but it came as reflection with other people around me. And so when I realized that I cannot make any change in my life, I just didn't want to have them. Having said that statement actually did change my life. I was at that time pregnant with my second daughter. And because I couldn't take any medicine, and obviously I wasn't going to kill myself, I had only one choice, and that was doing the inner work, going within, going inwards, and find out what's going on there. And what I did find out is that the pain of the past from losing my dad when I was 12 years old have left me with lots of wounds that kept attracting to my energy field more and more people that tried to teach me the lessons of self-worth and teach me the lessons of my own power. But because I didn't have the tools, it got really, really bad with relationships. So while I was doing the inner work, I was able within a very short amount of time to transform this pain, to take that pain away, to close, to have a closure to that grief process that I got stuck in for 20 something years, and create different and better decisions for myself. I've realized how much resentment I had. I realized how much fear of abandonment I was holding on to. And by releasing those attachments and by releasing those emotions from myself, I was able to make clear choices in my life to be in a better place. I left my partner at that time. I won an award doing the work that I'm doing. And I help people. I have two groups actually for men and women to do exactly the same work that I've been doing. I help people to come into peace and quiet with who they are, to accept themselves, to love themselves, to have compassion towards themselves, and to understand who they are and who they are not, so that there's no reason to have any guilt or shame or anger towards anything and anyone, because how we relate to ourselves, this is what we want to create in our life. We want to create reality of abundance. So this is my short story. Now, if I can share the screen for a second, Carol or Ritu. Yep. So with energy work or energy healing, what we do is we look at the cycle of behavior or of reality creation. It all starts with a belief, which means we have stories we're telling ourselves, or we have paradigms or blueprints that we took on board. It comes from 4 different levels. Some things that we learned in childhood until the age of 7, and we saw around us through our parents or family environment. There is a level of society or religion and culture that we come from. There is a level of DNA, things that literally run through the family. And we have the soul level, which means what is our purpose here on earth? All these 4 levels are affecting the stories that we're telling ourselves. And sometimes we are aware of them. So it's cool when we know that. But sometimes we're unaware of them, but they're still running the show for us. So if we're looking at relationships around us and we say, being in a relationship is hard work, then this is a belief that we encountered once in our past in one of those levels that is holding us here in our subconscious mind. From this belief, we have thoughts that creating that enforcing this belief. So if someone is unpleasant We will say, oh, here it goes again, or it never really works. And every time I need to explain myself, and why things can't be easy for me. So all these thoughts are actually generated from the belief that we're having. The next level that happens, or the next step that happens, is that we have emotions. Emotions are a way of energy to run in our body. It's called energy in motion, or to get stuck in our body. So we either feel sadness or frustration or annoyance, but we also have something in our body that will usually tell us that there is something that is wrong for us. We might have pains or aches or illness or fatigue or something in our body, stiff muscles, neck and shoulders come a lot for people. All these are actually showing us that there is an emotion there that is related to our belief system. From there, you can expect only one thing. If you are annoyed and frustrated when you have communication with others, you will behave in a certain way. You will have less patience in conversations. You will have less understanding, perhaps, or you will expect someone else to just understand you or know what you meant, or it will be just challenging for you in your daily behavior to come across as someone that is more calm, because you will be irritated and annoyed. So it actually affects how you behave, and obviously the habits that you have. You might will try to do a lot of workouts to release this anger, if there is a health involvement there. But you might go into alcohol or smoking habits, or even gossiping is a habit that comes from these emotions that are stuck. Complaining as well. If you are complaining on the weather, by the way, I never saw here any conversation starting not with the weather here in London. So again, it's very cultural to have habits. From there, you create the reality. You have results in your life because people will react back at you. People will reflect to you your behavior. You might not accept that as such, but they are mirror to you. So all of a sudden, a lot of people around you will annoy you. You will be angry with a lot of people. You will find it hard to have relationships with other people because this is the cycle, how it goes. And then you're reinforcing your belief. Then you believe yourself that the story you were telling you to yourself is actually the truth. The way we're dealing with this cycle, some people will go to therapy, which is amazing, and verbal communication is always good. And some people need just to release, and it's beautiful. It might take them a lot of time, a lot of sessions to come to understanding and to aha moments. Some people are trying their best and doing their best to change their habits. They will start 21 days challenge, or they will have 5 days challenge, or they will try new routine, or go to meetings, AA meetings, or whatever they are. But again, it might be hard for them to stick with that and continue with that. What we do with energy healing, we go straight to the belief, straight to the story, and to the bottom belief that is causing all of that. And again, it might be coming from one of the levels that I mentioned earlier, but it might come from all of them at the same time. So releasing and shifting those energies and those beliefs actually helps this whole cycle to change. So the thoughts are changing, the emotions are being released from the body, and then we feel more comfortable with ourselves, more open-hearted with others, and then the results in our life changing. And then there we go, we're reinforcing a new belief system. So this is what I do with healing. And if I have a few more minutes, Carol, let me know where I am with the time. 5 minutes, perfect. So I would like to show you guys in your bodies how your body knows the truth for yourself. If you don't mind standing up for me for a few minutes, And I'll stand up with you as well. And what we're going to do, we're going to start with 3 deep breaths. We're breathing in from our nose, and we're breathing out from our mouth. Good. And we're just taking another deep breath in and breathe out from our mouth. And one more time. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Good. Now I want you to feel comfortable with how you're standing and just mentally say to yourself, yes, yes, yes. So when you're saying yes, or when you have a positive confirmation for yourself, you will have a natural movement in your body. Usually the movement will be forwards. So if I'm standing to the side, it will look like this, yes, yes, yes. And my body will lean forward naturally. So just try it for yourself for a second. See how it works for you. Now say to yourself, no, no, no. And usually your body will lean backwards. And it's very natural as well. You don't need to think about that. You just need to release your body and allow it to show. Now, if we're going to your name, something that you know the truth about. So I want you to state your name. My name is Ionit, and I will go forward with this one. I was born with this name. So if you have a different name that you were born with, just state the name that you were born with. And I want you now to check for yourself and everyone who is here. State to yourself, my name is Ionit, and see which direction your body takes you. I hope backwards, because my name is quite of like, you don't want to have my name, really. It's difficult to pronounce. So now that we have something that is, we don't have any emotion attached to it, let's try something else to check. Let's try to check I'm available for love. And see where your body takes you now. And let's just check one more thing. I'm allowing love to come into my life. If you have any kind of resisting to that, you might encounter a no. It's okay. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It just means that there is some kind of resisting to accept and to receive love, any kind of love form. So you can sit down. And I hope that was helpful to understand how we work with the energy. And that is all based on your own body, on your own truth, on whatever stories that you're telling to yourself. And I will share here later in the chat, if that's okay, Carol, I will share a free guide that I've created for you on how to overcome an ended relationship. It can be from bereavement or separation or just falling apart. But moving on quickly without skipping the healing part of it, because once we do the inner work, we're ending those cycles. We're changing our lives, and we can make better decisions next time. So thank you so much for having me here today. And yeah, thank you. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Ionit.
Welcome.
And well within time. Thank you. So, didn't say at the beginning, but all questions for our speakers, I will open up the floor. The floor will be open when the last speaker has spoken. So make a note of any questions that you have for any of our speakers today. But thank you, Ionit. Beautiful. Okay.
If we have time for questions, and it's fine if we have time for that. If someone has any questions for me,
we will do it at the end, unless you have to run off.
No, I'm
No?
here. I'm here.
And the reason we do this is that the other speakers don't run out of time. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to our next speaker, KaushalyaUk, a West Midlands girl like me. Well, not from birth, but yes, joining us from Birmingham. Who is KaushalyaUk? Well, meet KaushalyaUk, the Overwhelm to Freedom coach, a passionate advocate for introverted professional women who have faced rejection or abandonment at some point in their lives. Director of Fierce and Femme, Christina's journey from healing herself to empowering others is a testament to her beautiful strength, compassion, and unwavering commitment to personal growth. Her story serves as a powerful reminder that no matter our past, we possess the potential to create a brighter and more fulfilling future by breaking free from internal blocks, releasing emotional baggage, and letting go of blame. Christina's strapline. You ready, Christina? Get fierce, get focused, get fabulous. Christina, the floor is yours.
This feels very familiar. All eyes on me. I found my fierce again, facing my perpetrator on a courtroom stand. The child of a 14-year-old mother, the only Black girl in my school, being sent away to a family that abused me in every possible way. I found my fierce again on a courtroom stand, facing my perpetrator. So I'm KaushalyaUk, I'm the Overwhelm to Freedom coach. And today I'm going to be sharing my story. And actually going through this presentation, you'll understand this is actually my first time of sharing my story. I do a lot of workshops, I do therapeutic life coaching, but it's never about disclosing about me. So this will be my first time. And through this presentation, you'll understand why. Oops. So today I want to share with the fierce femmes in the room about how you enhance your self-awareness and self-reflection and start challenging those negative self-talks. I'm one for, imposter syndrome and overcoming that. And as Ionit said, it's kind of like anyone can tell you anything or how amazing you are, but if you don't believe it, you're going to be your worst critique and you're going to be the one that self-sabotages yourself, relationships, success, abundance. So we need to learn how to cultivate a self-compassion, a self-love, a self-belief. So I was completely broken going through my life. I had all this emotional baggage, all these internal blocks, and all these blame for myself, blame for other people. And it just made me stick into this mindset of not being good enough, not being healthy, not being able to be loved. And that all stemmed back. We all say, let's get the house, the car, the husband, the partner, the wife, whatever it may be. These things are going to make me happy. But guess what? The things that are going to make you truly happy is that internal peace. being able to sleep at night, being able to settle your mind. So when my mum had me at 14, we didn't have anything. We lived somewhere where, you know, there wasn't food to come home to. I would eat cornflakes with water. I'd go to school and be happy. And these are the most actually happiest time of the life, even though I didn't have anything, because I was around people. I had my fierce within me, and I was just myself. And that didn't come from material things. That just came from being around a family that cared and loved me. And even I remember my first encounter of going to school, my first encounter of sexual harassment, when a boy jumped on my back and was grinding himself on me. I cried and I went to my teacher and I told. So I had my fierce within me from a very young child. And I loved that fierceness and I loved that little Christina. But somewhere along the line, I lost her and I lost my fierce and I started to tame it. So I witnessed a lot of domestic violence, a lot of poverty, but I didn't kind of understand what was going on at the time, and it didn't really affect me, but I was internalizing it. It was going into my subconscious. And then when my mum made the decision to send me to my family in London from Birmingham in the middle of the night after a domestic violence incident, and we was put into a hostel, I just remember my black bags being packed and me going to this family that I didn't know in London. And again, I internalized that of being rejected and abandoned. And then this family, my auntie, I don't know why she took me in, but she was very emotionally abusive. She pretty much hated me. And then the sexual abuse started with her husband from about 8 to 16, when I was finally able to escape. But I say all that to say, our personalities are made up of ego states. So we have the parent ego state, which is all the thoughts and behaviors and feelings copied from our parents and caregivers. So you can imagine I had quite a critical parent ego state, because what I was being told by the family that I was living with is that I wasn't good enough, that I needed to be quiet, that I needed to hurry up and speak. Nothing that I did was good enough. Everything was a problem. So now, over the years, that became my internal talk. That's how I sabotaged myself, because I wasn't good enough. I wouldn't put myself forward for anything. So I failed to have that nurturing parent. But then when I got into relationships, because of what I was missing, I tried to be that nurturing parent for everyone. I became that people pleaser at the detriment of myself. And then we have the child ego state. So those are all the behavior, thoughts, and feelings that we replay from childhood. And a lot of time, if I said to you, okay, think about when you was 5 years old, time that you was happy, you would actually rubber band back and feel those emotions. They might make you smile, they might make you anxious. So in our day-to-day interactions, in work, in life, with people, in situations, we tend to rubber band back into certain feelings that we're being triggered by. But because it's in our subconscious, we're not aware of it. We're just seeing how we're acting out, or that we're keeping ourselves back, or we're anxious. It could take something like me hearing a voice and it sounds similar to my auntie, and straight away I've gone back to be anxious. I can't speak up for myself. For many years, I went into a deep, dark depression, low mood, couldn't sleep, to the point where I became agoraphobic. I completely lost my voice. So as a teenager, I literally no one would really talk to me, or they just talk at me because I lost my voice. I couldn't own my voice anymore. So when I work with women, we look at all those messaging, our ego states, and we try to bring ourselves into the adult ego state. And the adult ego state is, how old are you right now? Are you present in this moment? What are actually the facts and reality? With all the information that you have in this moment, are you acting as the adult, or you're acting as that little girl, or are you acting as that parent? And these are the things that you'll be saying internally, whether that's subconscious or your voice. And we can start to adapt that. We can start to say, hold on, is this me? Because my auntie used to be like, talk. So I adopted the message of, if someone can't talk quickly or they're taking too long, I would get frustrated. I'd be like, come on, I think they're stupid. But that wasn't really me. That was just me acting out as my auntie did. So once I realized that, I could start to be more empathic, could start to be more understanding, and I started to make better relationships. And also, in that child ego state, I would be what we call the sweetheart. So we have the rebel, we have the free child. And I ask you to get in touch with your free child, which may be going on a swing, which may be playing, just getting in touch with her. But I used to be a sweetheart because I didn't want to ruffle anyone's feathers. I didn't want to draw any attention to myself because I didn't want to get into trouble. I didn't want to get abused. I just kind of stay under the radar. So I became that people pleaser. I became that sweetheart. But guess what? That sweetheart at some point has a breaking point, and she will act out. And what I used to do is act out on myself. So I became a weed smoker for a good decade. I was drinking alcohol just to kind of numb that pain. So I felt that my world was so bad that the only way that I could escape was sleeping. So I would do anything to sleep, even though I started off as a cashier for Barclays. I went to account manager. I became a bank manager for Barclays by the age of 24. But as soon as I got home, everything would flood into me. And I wasn't good enough, to the point where I quit my job because I couldn't believe that I was in that position. So it's about, where are these messages coming from? Where am I acting from? And can I come into my adult ego state and have these two-way conversations? And that made me have conditions of worth. So if I was being the good girl, if I was being quiet, if I was helping everybody, if I was saying yes, then I would be accepted. And the bottom line in life, we just want to be loved and accepted. So I would do all of these things at a detriment to myself, or I would just completely isolate myself. So I want you to think about, are there any conditions of worth that's being placed on you? Are there any conditions of worth that you want to let go? Did you have to be the academic one? Did you have to be the one that looked after everybody? Did you have to be the one that brings in the money? Because that's the only way that you would get the love and acceptance. And what do you want to hold on? What works for you now?
I don't need anyone, and also feel myself really means my ability to trust has been injured by people systemically failing me, letting me down, duty, go. Listen again.
So that was just saying that for a long time, I felt that I didn't need anybody. But what it was is because certain people systemically let me down. It wasn't everyone. I used to make general statements based on my filters and my past. So what I had to do, I had to go on a healing journey to be able to look at those patterns, those conditions of worth, my experiences that I went through. And what I realized is that actually what happened to me between 8 and 18 wasn't happening to me anymore. That person wasn't able to get to me anymore. But there might as well be, because I was doing it to myself. I was abusing myself. I was hurting myself. So when it could have stopped at 18, I allowed it to continue for another 10 years. So I had to go to life coaching, counseling, and just try to really let go and heal from all of that pain. And I also started to see that, you know what, these are generational patterns and messages. And if you can't do it for yourself, we can do a lot of things for other people. So my starting point was actually, I don't want to continue this cycle for my children, for my nieces and nephews, for my cousins. And even my starting point of my healing journey, I was doing like a counseling course at the time, which was life-changing. But it brought to my attention by a family member that my twin cousins who saw me as their mother may have been going through this as well. And that completely broke my heart. So when we talk about those 3 B's, the baggage, blocks and blame, I blamed myself. How could I allow this to happen? Even now, I don't know for sure. So I went to social services. They wouldn't do anything. I went to the police. They wouldn't do anything. And the only way that they could take this person to court is if I did it for myself. But actually, as I said, I found my fierce on that courtroom stand. That's the first time I found my fierce again. That's the first time I took my power back. And it was the best thing that I ever done. I didn't get justice, but I was able to find my fierce again. And that's been the best thing ever. And going through that whole process allowed me to find my self-worth, my self-esteem. Self-esteem is how we look at ourselves, how we perceive other people to look at ourselves. But actually, by getting back to your authentic self and being unapologetically you, it doesn't matter really what other people think of you. As long as you've got good intentions and live the life that you think is the right way, then it doesn't really matter. And I've come to realize and don't really care that I'm not for everybody and everyone's not for me. As long as we treat each other with respect, that's it. And then that goes into my self-worth and my value. And that went back to loving that little girl within me. Because even in my sessions, I think one of the times I was brought up to say, oh, where is little Christina? I call her Chrissy Tina. Where is Chrissy Tina in relation to you? She was actually over there, face turned away, all in black. I dissociated from her. And it took me to do that inner child work, which I do with my women, to get her back integrated with me, to get her back and love her, and the way that I speak to her, the way that I take care of her. And this will be probably today's, to write a love letter to that little girl within you and telling her how beautiful, amazing, and all her achievements. And that's just not success. Achievement for getting up every day, achievement for being that mother, achievement from stepping out even though you don't want to. Because you're amazing. So now I'm in a position and a place that I would love one woman at a time to find their fierce. I can love me now. I can truly say I love me. I hated me. I could say that I used to say those words. I hate you. I can do my mirror work now and say, I love you, Christina. I love you, Christina. I love you, Christina. And I practice that every day because I'm not going to forget. And it's okay to be unapologetically me. And we stifle ourselves so much by having that self-doubt, the lack of self-belief. You can do anything, Fierce Femme, like you really can. Even all the women I've worked with during my time as a therapeutic life coach, as a support worker, as a domestic violence advocate, I absolutely 1000% believe that anyone can do anything. As long as you've got that belief, that determination, that resilience, you can have whatever you want, the big to the small. And that allowed me to see the beauty. I don't know why, but this picture just reminds me of Carol. She just sees the beauty in everything. And that's the position that I came to, just being able to open the curtains, open the doors, even to walk out in nature and have my mind clear and being able to practice mindfulness. I never thought in my wildest dreams 15 years ago, 10 years ago, that would ever be possible. And see the beauty in other people. Because for so long I just thought the world is a bad place. Everyone's a bad place. Let me lock myself away. But the world is absolutely beautiful. And so are you. So I just want to say, Fierce Femmes, you are innately worthy just by being you. When a baby's born, how do we like cuddle over it? Like, oh, we try to protect it, we value it. It's the most precious thing. That was you. That is you. And it's always been there. So just by existing, you have value and you have worth. And I just want to... So I just want to tell you this. Being a fierce femme is embodying strength, resilience, confidence, and empowerment as a woman. It means embracing your authenticity, standing up for your beliefs, and fiercely pursuing your goals and dreams. A fierce femme is someone who refuses to be held back by societal expectation, challenges, or experiences. Instead, she embraces her unique qualities, celebrates her worth, and strives to make a positive impact on herself and others. A fierce femme is not defined by her limitations, but rather her determination to break barriers and pursue her passion with courage and conviction. She is unapologetically herself, lifting up others around her. Being a fierce femme is about recognizing the power within you, your fierceness, and using it to overcome obstacles, uplift others, and create a life that aligns with you, your authentic self. It's a journey of self-discovery, self-love, self-empowerment that leads to living life boldly, fiercely, and creating a life on your own terms, through your unique contributions and strength of character. So I am KaushalyaUk, a therapeutic life and wellbeing coach, and I support professional introverted women to overcome the 3 Bs so that can be confident, have courage, and success in all areas of their life. Thank you so much for having me. I would like to say as well, if I can, I have a discount code, BOLD23. Want to connect and have any kind of consultation with me, it is free. But I will be having an event on October the 28th. It's called Fierce Femininity. We're going to be having amazing speakers. We're going to have afternoon tea together. We're going to have a body confidence workshop and just be having these interactive talks. So, yeah, thank you.
Awesome, Christina. Awesome. I think this is the first time since I've known you that I've actually heard your story. Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And before you finish, please say your strapline. I want to hear it from you.
Get fierce, get focused, get fabulous.
Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, beautiful. Okay. And all questions for Christina hold to the end, and for the rest of our speakers as well. So I thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Today is special because we're all special. And I want us to feel that way, irrespective of what's going on in our lives at the moment. You're here, shut everything out for the time that you're here. And just enjoy, learn, and, you know, there will be some things that you'll be able to resonate with from our speakers. So I thank each of our speakers from the bottom of my heart for just sharing them unashamedly. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce our next speaker, who joins us from Toronto, Canada, Angela Jackson. Who is Angela Jackson? Well, she's a speaker, coach, and author, and helps people who have resentments, frustrations, and pain, old anger, learn how to shift negative reactions to positive responses. Known as the anger expert, Angela believes our deepest wounds can become our most treasured gifts. She appeared on numerous television shows and is the author of 2 best-selling books, Celebrating Anger and Celebrate Life. Angela is committed to helping people use anger as a tool for transformation so they can achieve more peace, joy, and love in their lives. She can be reached at Angela Speak For, and Angela, do put your details in the chat. And what people say. Angela, these are some of the testimonials. Angela helped me change my relationship with anger. My whole life improved. Now I am able to speak up and ask for what I want instead of staying resentful. And that's from Lucy Ross. From Mary Welsh, who says, you have helped me regain myself and have given me tools to manage my life. Words can't express how grateful I am. And with that, Angela, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, Carol. Thank you to you for inviting me, and to Ritu for having this amazing platform for us to be at. I very much appreciate you. So, yeah, I'm Angela Jackson, and today I'm going to speak to you about anger. It's a hot subject. And I'm going to talk about celebrating anger and using it as a tool for transformation. You know, anger is a natural human emotion. It's something we all have, right? I mean, it's a response to a person and a situation. It's something that happens automatically to a lot of us, and to some of us, we pretend we don't have it because we want to believe that we don't have anger, that, you know, we are beyond that. But the truth is that we do have anger. A lot of us have anger. You know, men, look, anger's had a bad rap. For men, it's been considered to be okay. Certainly in the past, you know, men had anger, men went to war, men fought, but not women. Women were supposed to be sugar and spice and everything nice, right? And we were taught to suppress our anger or to repress it. So that's where the pushing it down starts to come from. We don't have any anger, and we are certainly not taught to express it, because if we do, we are called names, the foremost of which being the one that starts with a B, and then the next letter is I, and you can figure out what I'm trying to say. And when we're called names, then we get angry, right? And so it goes on and on and on. And so being called names doesn't make us feel good. Being told that we're supposed to keep our anger inside doesn't make us feel good. And yet many of us still do it today. So today, what I'd like to do is give you some ideas, some strategies that are going to help you deal with anger no matter what is going on in your life. And I'm also going to give you a couple of instant intervention tools to deal with it, to help you change so that you're not reacting, but responding. So, but first, to do that, I want to ask you some questions, and I'm going to ask you to be really honest and just put in the chat whether it's a yes or a no. So, have you ever been angry? It's a yes or a no. Okay. Have you ever, yelled with your anger? Have you ever screamed at anybody? Have you ever thrown something? That kind of thing. Yes. Have you ever reacted? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. So how about keeping it inside? Have you ever pretended that you weren't angry, shoved it down, pushed it down, stiff upper lip, not me, I don't get angry. Okay, never pretended. Good, good. I'm glad, because it's a healthy thing. Anger, like a rose is a rose is a rose. Anger is anger is anger. And as I said, we all have it, all have it. So how about thoughts of revenge? Have you ever had any of those? I don't get angry, I get even. Well, I'm glad to see, leave it to Karma. I'm glad to see that that are others who have also had anger, not me. And I had a lot of it, I have to tell you. I had a lot of anger because, well, no, I'll tell you first why I had a lot of anger. I started out in life like a kid, I had a mother and a father, and then later a baby brother. Until I was 6, it was a good life, middle class, Toronto. However, when I turned 6, everything changed. My dad roared off in the night with an accomplice, another woman. My mother was devastated. She couldn't cope. So she put my brother and I in different foster homes. Now, foster homes at that time were not the way they are today, and there were no social agencies really to deal with kids in foster homes. Basically, you went there to learn how to work, and there was a lot of abuse. And I can tell you that I had a lot of abuse. My mom said I would be in the home for just a few days. It actually lasted 7 years. And it was 7 years of physical and mental and emotional abuse. And so how I coped was by doing what I was told to do, to be seen and not heard, to pretend, to fantasize, and to opt out. That's what I did. And so it went. Fast forward, when I was 13, I moved in with my mom, and my mom had a job. But by this time, she was a practicing alcoholic, now a secret alcoholic, because she kept her booze in her bureau drawer, last bottom. I know, because I found it there, last bottom drawer. And she was, she would drink at night and then she'd pass out. I didn't understand what was happening to her. She'd bounce off the walls, and then I'd help her to bed. But that was when my anger started surfacing, only a little bit, because before that I had pushed it all down. And so it started surfacing because I blamed my mom. And I blamed her for everything bad that had happened to me, for the foster father who abused me, for the way my life had gone up until that point. And, blaming makes us a victim. And that's one of the things that happens sometimes when we're angry, is we do blame. We practice the blame game. We blame other people because we don't know how, or we don't want to look at ourselves. But, at 13, I had no tools, and I didn't know how, and I just wanted to get out and have fun and meet boys and, have fantasy. I lived in fantasy. I tuned out. I went to movies. I read everything that I wanted to read, because that's how I didn't deal with anything that had happened to me. My dad had actually died of cirrhosis of the liver. I found that out at 13. How did I handle it? I blocked it. I went to movies. and I pretended. So it was all there inside of me, festering around. And we all have stories. We all have things that happen to us in life. And as children, unless we come from very enlightened parents, we're not taught how to handle the things that happen to us. Certainly I wasn't taught. And so, fast forward, I married the first guy that asked me, to tell you the truth. Now, he happened to be tall, dark, and handsome, and I saw him across a crowded room, and I loved songs, and that was some enchanted evening. So I married him, I eloped, and began the second part of my life, which was my 11 years of hell, because I married somebody who also had big issues, who had been born in Germany. And I thought he was French. He turned out to be German. Oh, well, it didn't matter. He had a hyphenated name. Fantasy. That's how I dealt with everything. And, he had a lot of issues, grew up in shelters and had a lot of things that were still affecting him. So there we were, me with my issues and he with his. And how did I handle them? For the first part of our 11 years together, I had children, 3 of them. And I was a pleaser because I didn't really understand what was going on inside of me. And then it started to come out, just as it started with my mom. I started reacting and yelling back. And then I started really yelling back. And then I started playing every anger game that I knew. I sulked, I manipulated, I badgered, and finally I left. And that's where I got to in my 30s, in my mid-30s. And there I was, volatile, full of anger. So what did I do? I immediately got into another relationship. Only this time I got in a relationship with somebody that I could control. And I could be the one that was in charge, like my husband had been in charge with me. And that relationship just died. Just a quick death. He left and I was there alone. Single mom, 3 kids, a lot of anger, alone. And what was I doing? I was drinking because it was my family pattern. Now, fortunately, I didn't stay on that train too long. I stopped, I got some help. And that's when the third part of my life began, because I went to a recovery program. And from there, I started getting some counseling. And from there, I started getting some coaching and blah, blah, blah. I moved forward. I became a therapist in my life. And now I counsel and coach other people. And I try to help women, one woman at a time, deal with anger. Because you see, there are benefits to anger. And I can tell you that in my life, the anger that I had, it kept me alive. It helped me survive. That anger protected me right from the get-go. By tuning out, I didn't have to deal with what was happening to me because I couldn't. And later on, when I started to act out the anger, it started to come out. And that's really important, that anger does come out. Of course, what it needs to do is come out in a healthy way, not in a destructive way. So for those of us that act out our anger and take it out on other people, that's destructive, clearly. We need to have tools that can help us and strategies that can help us use the anger when it comes, because guess what? Anger is a kissing cousin to passion. And we all want passion in our lives, don't we? We want to have that life energy. We want to be able to do what it is that we want to do in life. So we want to keep the passion alive. We just don't want to keep it in a destructive way. So the number one tool that I want to offer you is the 3-second scream. And we're going to do it here today. Easy, easy peasy. And then we're going to do it in a way that nobody's going to hear you. Nobody's going to hear you. I know you're in your own place, but it doesn't matter. Even if they're there, they won't hear you. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to do it in front of you, and then you're going to do it with me, because tools are tools. They have to be used. First step, take the one hand covered over your mouth, second hand over the first hand, and you're going to scream as loud as you can for 3 seconds. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, go. You ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, so what did it sound like? Didn't sound like much, right? And I could see the smiles on your face. That's tool number 1, because when you're angry, and you can feel it, whether it's starting at your toes and working up through your body, or whether it's in your jaw or your shoulders or in your chest, you can feel it, right? We can feel the anger. We can feel the energy of anger. So what we do is we immediately do a scream, and it doesn't matter where you are. You can be working in an office, and you can do it right in front of people. Looks like this. They'll think you're sneezing. They'll probably say, God bless you. So you get a blessing with it as well. Look, it's free. It doesn't cost you a cent. You can do it anywhere, anytime. Another good place to do it is in the shower, or graveyards are very good. They'll think you're grieving, and maybe you are. Maybe you're screaming about something that's happened, and you have to let it out. It is healthy. It is natural, and it is normal. It is normal to have anger. It's an emotion. Emotion. We need to let it move through us. And when we do that, then we're free of it, at least at that moment. But the thing with anger is that you're never really free of it, because it's going to come again. So here's a benefit of anger. Not only is it like a kissing cousin and we have passion from it, but it helps us stand up for what's wrong in life, for what's wrong in our lives. It helps give us a voice. I mean, think of people, famous people, Martin Luther King, for example. Martin Luther King got angry about how things were going on, and he stood up and he kept saying, I have a dream. And he made that dream a reality. What would have happened if he hadn't taken his passion and his anger and turned it in his challenge into standing up, using courage? It gives us courage to fight what's wrong, to stand up for ourselves. Mother Teresa, the same thing. She was told that she couldn't go to Calcutta. She said, I'm going anyhow. And she was angry, and she went, and look what that anger did for her and for all the people that still continue as a result of her legacy to get the benefit. So, we don't have to look really very far in our lives. We will find people that stand up, and it can be a small way of standing up. For example, it's with the Me Too movement. It started in a very small way, and then it mushroomed. You see something wrong, you have a child that's at school, or you hear of a child and you go to the school, you make a petition, you do something to change it. And another benefit of anger is when we stand up, it helps us fight disease. Now, I'm going to tell you something interesting. There has never, ever been a case of a psychopath getting cancer. It's never been documented, because who gets cancer? It's the nice people, right? Right? So I'm not suggesting that you become psychopaths or sociopaths, but what I am suggesting is that you look at what sociopaths and psychopaths do. They act out, right? So if you have a disease like cancer, the important thing is to take a hold of it and to fight it. And again, there have been statistics showing that women who fight their disease, particularly cancer or arthritis or heart disease, that they say, I am not going to tolerate this disease. I won't have it. I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to stand up for it. When they do, they live, this has been documented, 10 times longer. That could be until you're 100 than women who don't. And that's important to know. It's important to know, so that when we stand up, when we take courage, when we right wrongs, that we are really doing something beneficial, not only for ourselves, but for other people and for the people that follow behind us. And for me, in my life, when I stood up for myself and I changed my life, I had my 3 kids, I was a single mom, then my 3 kids got the rewards that I was doing to change generations of alcoholism in my family. And there have been many generations. So, it can be a small step or it can be a leap. What matters is that we take the step, right? Courage, from the French word courage, to take heart, because that's what we need to do, is to take the heart to free ourselves and to help the others free themselves, one person at a time, because that's what we do. So for those of you that keep anger in, the ones that didn't say anything in the chat, the important thing is to use a tool to get it out, like the 3-second scream. That's a great tool to get it out. Once you've gotten it out, then it might be a good idea to look at what the trigger was. What got you angry in the first place? So for me, I can tell you that my triggers, and they still exist today, however I've tamed them, was broken promises, because my dad promised that he would be there for me. He promised that he wasn't really going anywhere. He was just going on a little trip and he'd be back in the morning. I never saw him again. Big trigger for me. Another trigger for me is criticism, because I was criticized so much as a child. And so as soon as I start to get criticized, and I love constructive criticism. However, if I start to hear it in that kind of a voice that tells me, because I thought I was bad, I believed I was bad, that's why my parents left, it was all because of me. As soon as that happens, I can feel myself, just seizing up. That's a trigger. Once I know it and I can feel it, then I can do something about it. So name it. Name what your trigger is. And then look at how you can change it. What are the tools? What are the things that you can do to make your trigger something different? So for me, broken promises, I learned I don't break promises. No matter what, I am going to stand by my word, and I'm going to make sure that I don't break a promise to you. And do I break promises to me? Sometimes. I promised myself that I wasn't going to eat chocolate at night. I'm still doing it. Yes, I do break promises to me, because I'm human. And I need to be able to accept that I'm a human, that I'm a woman, and that I do things that aren't perfect. That's another thing. Some of us think that we're supposed to be perfect, that we're not supposed to be human, that we're not supposed to make mistakes. And we give ourselves so much problem about that, when in fact, what we really need to do is love ourselves with our flaws, with the mistakes that we make, to give ourselves pats on the back for getting up and facing the day, for remembering maybe to buy toilet paper on the way home because you're out, or little things, little teeny things that help us keep going in our lives. And then pats on the back, hugs. If nobody's given you a hug today, let me be the first one to give you one, and give them to yourself. Lots and lots and lots of them. And and catch yourself doing something good. And go to the mirror in the morning and tell yourself how much you love yourself, because you're worth it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%, you're worth it. And because we are the beautiful women that we are becoming, and we will continue becoming until we take our last breath, and who knows what's beyond? We don't know, but because we are becoming and being and loving ourselves, then we have the love to give others. And that's how anger can transform us. It can take us from that place of gritting the teeth and feeling so to letting it go like a dandelion puffball, letting it just go in the air, just giving it up, giving it off, giving it away once we recognize we have it. And because you do recognize you have it, you're already there. So, big hug for everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I love you all. Take good loving care.
Awesome. Thank you. Great tools. Thank you. I say save your questions till our last speaker has spoken, then I will open up the floor for Q&A. And yes, I'm looking forward to some of the questions and answers. And I can't believe we're down to our final speaker for the evening our time anyway in the UK. And now I'd like to introduce you to Daniela Wolf, joining us from Florida.
Buffalo, Florida, somewhere in the US.
Buffalo, in the US of A. Daniela helps stressed and burnt out professionals ditch the guilt and overwhelm, productively manage daily tasks with ease, and have the time and energy for self-care every day. She has been I've put it in the big promo, but I didn't put it in this one.
Social worker.
LMSW. Say it.
Licensed master social worker.
Awesome. For 27 years, focused on self-care, stress management skills, mindfulness, relationships, parenting, and managing all the chaos of life. She's also a working mom of 2. Bless. Her mission is to empower you to prioritize yourself on your to-do lists and learn the strategies to make over your daily life. I'm really looking forward to hearing more, Daniela, and I yield the floor to you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Carol and Ritu, for having me today as part of this amazing group of women speakers. I'm honored after hearing everyone's stories to be a part of this, because I think even though our backgrounds and where we came from and what brought us here is so different, I heard so many echoes of so many similarities as well. And I love that connection that we can get from each other just by hearing these stories and being able to kind of connect and empower each other in that way. So like she said, I'm a burnout coach and self-care strategist. My business is Bestie Life, helping you find the bliss in your busy. And so this came from not just my professional life, but also my personal experiences as a working mom, now as someone who's taking care of parents and doing all sorts of different things. And about 17 years ago, I also went through a divorce, was a single working mom of 2 kids, and found myself in that place of burnout. And one of the myths I think that happens with burnout specifically is we think it always comes from a negative place, from something we dislike, something we don't enjoy. And we don't always think about the passions that we have, the things that we do enjoy that can still cause an area of burnout if we don't have some of those boundaries. I loved being a mom. I loved being everything and anything to my kids. I loved being there 24/7. I loved my job. I was very passionate about a lot of things, but without having some boundaries in place is part of where that burnout came from, because I spent all of my time on it. It came first. They came first before myself and everybody else. Being personally invested, you ride those highs and lows in such a more profound way because you have that passion, you are invested in that way. And when we're going through different situations sometimes, or even when we're all in on something, we can end up very isolated if we don't allow others in. And so I love sharing and talking about this because I think prevention is definitely easier than recovery, even though recovery is also very possible. And so by helping to recognize maybe some of the boundaries and the things to think about, things to start putting in place, not just for the things you don't like, but for the things that you are super passionate about and that you love, can help keep you from getting to that place of burnout. Because like I said, I loved my kids. I was there for them all the time, 24/7, to the point I was feeling so frustrated and overwhelmed and isolated, whoops, that's all I was. And so, being able to kind of hit that wall a little bit, find that moment and recognize I needed to take a step back and start practicing what I preach as a social worker, taking some time for myself, practicing gratitude every day, doing activities for myself. And that's where, one of the first things I always talk about is mindset, because I think without looking at your mindset and recognizing how you feel about situations, that's where different things can creep in: guilt, limiting beliefs. I thought if I wasn't always the person there taking care of my kids, I wasn't a great mom. That asking for help made me look weak and incapable, like I wasn't able to do things. And, they talk about fixed and growth mindset when it comes to mindset, and where fixed is, there's only one way. There's only one way to look at it. There's only one way to approach things. And so that's where some of those shoulds can come into play, that guilt, that rigidness in how we approach our day-to-day life, versus that growth of, putting my kids in childcare while I go to the gym, letting somebody else watch them didn't make me a bad mom, but if anything, it helped me show up better for them, as well as give them more experiences, allow them to have different things to then bring back and we could have conversations about, and allow them to explore other interests and grow as people as well. And it showed them, that by taking time for myself, that's how I was not only to be treated, but how they should also approach taking care of themselves. So reframing that mindset is one of the first things I always like to help my clients with and share with people when I'm helping them through burnout, because when you think differently, you feel differently. When you feel differently, you act differently. And so if you don't change the way you're thinking about it, you could act in whatever way you can do certain things, but without that mindset behind it, it's not going to resonate. It's not going to have that same impact, and it's not going to then propel you to those changes that you're actually looking for and seeking. So that's part of one of those first areas in helping you set that boundary, is around the way you're thinking, so that others' perceived expectations and thoughts aren't coming in and crowding out what you know to be true as far as who you are and what you need to do. The next part that I always love to talk about is time, because I think that's the one thing, we can't buy more of, you can't get back once you've given it away. And yet, when it comes to burnout, that's exactly what we're doing, is we put ourselves last on our to-do list. We give our time to everybody else but us. And so again, because it's something we're passionate about, we think it's always positive to give all of our time away to these things, but recognizing that you need to be able to not only create spaces for yourself every day, but also have a handle on what's happening. Helps you feel a little bit more kind of in control. And the first thing, there's so many different tools when it comes to helping you manage your time. And so there's no one way, there's no wrong way, but finding a system that's going to work for you, definitely recognizing what your priorities are on a daily basis is so important, because I think we can get caught up in saying yes and doing so many different things and running through our days. And then at the end, that's where, again, some of that exhaustion and guilt comes in, because we did all these things. Some of them were maybe busy versus productive. It wasn't what we needed to get done. And when we're not intentional with our time, that's where some of that resentment can come from, because we don't feel like we did anything for ourselves. We gave it all away to other people, or we didn't even achieve the things we needed to achieve. So recognizing what your priorities are. The Eisenhower Matrix, I love, is a fantastic tool. You can Google it, or I can share it as well. Is a great tool to help you recognize not only what's urgent, but what's important. So many times I think we confuse those two things, being important and urgent, versus maybe something's important, but it's not urgent. It doesn't need to get done right away. Maybe something is urgent, but it's not important, where you don't have to be the person to do it. You can hire out, you can delegate, you can ask for help in those situations, as well as what's not important and what's not urgent. What should we be taking off of our plate completely? Because so many times we can get up caught in, strolling in social media, wasting our time in so many other areas. And because we didn't intentionally plan what those priorities were and what needed to happen, is why that can get away from us. And then just designating specific times, not only for those priorities to happen, but I also love creating gaps in my schedule when I create that time, because I look at it like those gaps in between activities. That's my bonus time. That's my fun time, as far as whether, because life might happen and you never know. And when you allow that space in between different things, maybe you spill something walking out the door, the kids are running late, something extra pops up at work. When you have those intentional spaces between things, it allows you to have that breathing room for when life happens, so that you're not caught up in the hustle. It doesn't contribute to your overwhelm. As well as if things are rolling according to plan, you now have 15-minute breaks built in throughout your day to then be able to practice different kinds of self self-care. And that's like one of the last areas I love to talk about is self-care. I think it's such a huge part of our burnout prevention, and self-care gets a bad rap. I think a lot of times it's glossed over as being fluffy or a luxury or a nice to have, versus something that's as necessary as eating, sleeping, brushing your teeth. These are the kind of things you need to be doing on a day-to-day basis in order to maintain your overall mental, emotional, and physical well-being. And it gets just underestimated as how powerful it can be. And so part of what I do is I redefine what you think of as self-care, because it's not just the spa days, the bubble baths, the girls' getaways, which I love and they're fantastic, but to really have a sustainable practice on a day-to-day basis, not just, an hour on a Saturday and you hope it lasts through Thursday afternoon. That's not realistic. But to have, these sustainable, practical self-care practices, it looks at how you sleep, how you eat, how you move, how you connect with others, how you dress, how you decorate and organize your home, how you think about money. These are all different ways to practice self-care throughout your entire day. And to be able to learn more about those areas, learn where your strengths and maybe some areas for improvement are for you, and how to incorporate them into your day-to-day life. Just even, like I said, people look at me sometimes when I talk about how you dress and they're like, how is that part of your self-care? Because part of self-care is not just about being quiet and zen and present, but it's also about building your confidence, feeling good about yourself. And so, if you show up in a certain jacket or blazer, it brings you that confidence, like, yep, I can own this moment. I got this. When you decorate and organize your home, is that your sanctuary that you enjoy, look forward to coming home to, even if it's just a small little piece of it, a little chair with a super comfy blanket, a candle, some warm tea at the end of the day. Finding those little moments throughout your day, enjoying and smelling your coffee in the morning, is a super brief mindfulness practice. And so, I always even tell people to start super simple and small, just even to set a timer on their clock, 1 minute, 5 times throughout their day. During that 1 minute, you don't pick up your phone, you don't scroll, you don't do anything else. You just take a moment, you take some deep breaths, you do some shoulder shrugs ups and down to help release any stress and tension. You have a huge glass of water, just for 1 minute of just being present, maybe doing some mindfulness where you notice what you hear, what you smell, what you see, is so powerful. Just that 1 minute, 5 times a day, have a 5-minute self-care practice built in. It's so powerful in helping to start to physiologically change your body, change the way you're responding to stress. And so self-care might not always show up as an instant relaxation, but when you practice these things consistently throughout your day, every day, when life does show up and happen in an unexpected way, you can respond differently. You have a bit more control where maybe, like Angela just said, that anger isn't your first response because you've taken those steps to kind of manage and be aware of how you're feeling, starting with even, like I said, how you're thinking, where your time is going. Having all those awareness pieces in place is how you then kind of prevent burnout, because it's not just a quick fix. It's not going to be a one and done, but these are the kind of things that will consistently help you roll through the ups and downs in life, find that work-life balance, that work-life harmony that people talk about that can feel so elusive. When I talk about balance, sometimes people, they're like, oh, you can't have balance because everything's not always equal. And absolutely, that's totally true. It's not about finding 50-50 equal in everything. Balance, the way I teach it, has to do with how you adapt, how you pivot, how you build your resilience, and how you set your boundaries. That's like one of my favorite B words, is boundaries, because it can sound like a dirty word. People think boundaries are negative and they're like a wall, but actually boundaries are very freeing. You're giving the freedom to yourself and to the people around you to know when you're available, when to contact you, what you're capable and able to show up for 100%. And so it's so much freeing because it gets rid of that guilt. It gets rid of those expectations from you and other people to help you then, again, manage things in a way that feels good, that feels comfortable, and again, allows you to, meet your expectations, meet what you set out to do, but also not lose yourself in the process, whether it's a passion, whether it's a job, whether it's your family, whether it's your relationship, to still have that space available for yourself is how you're going to start then in preventing that burnout. And so those three areas, the time, the mindset, and the self-care, are kind of those pillars of what I help people with in my Exhausted to Empowered program. And I think, there's ways that it can be incorporated, whether it's in a business, in your relationship with your family. There's so many ways you can look at. I always believe in options. I think options are one of my favorite things because it's I look at it as like a challenge. Like if someone tells me they can't find time or they can't do something, they can't incorporate it, there's always an option. There is always a way. And sometimes we need to either take a step back or have somebody else give you that different perspective to be able to see what those options are, because each day is going to look different. As much as we try and set up habits, systems, and routines, and I love those because they help automate things. They make them happen instantly. They get rid of that decision fatigue. You also need those options because, again, you need the flexibility of maybe, with your movement, you don't have time for an hour workout every day or anything like that. But to know, hey, on this day, I can do 20 minutes. Hey, I know a 10-minute yoga routine that I can fit in. To have those options is so that you can actually still achieve what you say you want to achieve versus, well, it doesn't fit the mold, I can't make it work. And, having that flexibility is how you achieve your goals, not by setting them big and, massive, but by making something small and achievable on a daily basis in a way that's going to work for you. And so those are some of the things I love to share and help. And so when you, again, are thinking about burnout prevention, think about your mindset. Like we talked about, are you someone who approaches things from a fixed mindset where it has to be a certain way? There's only one way to make it do things well or make it right. Some of that's maybe perfectionism. Or are you a growth mindset? The best way to tell is, can you add the word yet onto what you're saying? That's how you can turn something into a growth mindset. So, I'm not a great cook yet because I know I can still learn, I can grow. I'm not a great singer yet, but I can practice, I can get training. There's always a yet and a possibility with a growth mindset. With your time, look at, are you intentional with how you're planning it each day? Do you have your priorities? And are you allowing yourself space between your different activities? And then last is your self-care. Think of those different areas I listed, and are those things you've ever thought of as self-care? How can you reapproach them maybe in different ways? And, by putting them all together, it's not about just the end goal, but it's the journey along our way. That's how we live our happiest lives. It's always about how are we living each day to get to that place we want to be. So thank you so much for having me today. I'm going to share in the comments, I have a free resource. It's called How to Reclaim Your Time in 10-Minute Blocks. I'm not a super person when it comes to coming up with creative and sexy titles for things, but it literally is a cheat sheet and a guide that tells you how to find just 10-minute blocks throughout your day and then what to do with those 10 minutes. So it's a great free resource, as well as I'm offering a discount code for everybody who attended the summit. It's 20% off of any of my coaching packages. So, email me, I put that in there, connect with me, ask me questions. I love sharing and talking about this kind of stuff and helping to support you. So please let me know what I can do.
That's wonderful, Daniela. Thank you so very much. Don't miss this opportunity. And I think all of our speakers have put their links in the chat. So do save the chat. But that was wonderful. Thank you. And some of you already know that there is another volunteer in Zena who coordinates workshops. So if any of our speakers would like to do a 40-minute to an hour workshop, then let me have details and I will forward it to Zena. So this has been an incredible time. I'm sorry, I'm still not myself. For those who weren't here at the beginning, I've been at a funeral earlier. But I just thank all our speakers for sharing unashamedly their expertise, their own story, and their journeys. I thank you. And I'm going to open up the floor for Q&A. So if anyone has any questions for any of our speakers, please raise your hand or put it in the chat. I saw one in the chat for Christina earlier. But yeah, use this opportunity to do that. And then we will have Ritu, who will close us out with a few words. And I just want to say a big thank you to our speakers for saying yes, and for just delivering the best of you. And I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, because we don't know who's at the other end of the lens, who will benefit from what's been shared this evening or from one of your talks. So please do save the chat. And if you're not able to, let us know and we'll send a copy to you. So now the floor is open for Q&A, and then Ritu will close us out. So thank you again to everyone who's attended. Special thank you to our speakers. Special thank you to Ritu, who created this platform for a moment like this. So, okay, the floor is open.
Okay, not a question. This was an exceptional one tonight, not because of the wonderful shares we've had, but also because we've had two gentlemen here for the whole time with us, which is unusual. So I'm going to encourage both James and Dominic to ask any questions they'd like to. You're very welcome to be a part of this as well. And any feedback would be greatly appreciated. So guys, please ask if you've got any questions whatsoever.
Hi. Well, I'd just like to say thank you very much indeed to all the speakers. I thought they were brilliant. Yeah, obviously stayed all the way through and made quite a few notes. So thank you very much. I don't really have any questions. I just thought took a lot from it, loads of things. I mean, I am quite lucky with the way I've been brought up, but my kids probably aren't so lucky as I was. So I think I'll be taking a lot from what was said from all four of you, as far as to help them. So thanks very much.
Yeah, for me, it's been most enlightening. I know that not everybody has the best life, and not everybody's able to deal with things, and I tend not to meet people like that. So, and I tend to just coach men most of the time. So this has been really very balancing for me and very, very, very enlightening. So I thank you all very much for everything that you've said, and to Christina in particular, who has a sort of familial connection. I met her some years ago when she was going through all of this, and I sat next to her and I was very impressed with her, but I didn't realize how much that she was going through internally. So we do tend to meet people without really understanding their circumstances. And yeah, I'm just very impressed with everything that I've heard tonight. Thank you. I have also sent connection requests on LinkedIn to some of the speakers, so I'd be grateful for that connection, primarily just to understand more about what you do. Thank you.
Okay. Any more for any more?
Hiya.
Hi, Manu.
Hi, Carol. It's been an excellent session. Absolutely. Let me put my camera on. I'm seeing everybody. Nobody's seeing me. That's rude. Sorry. Hello. I've got my lights off. Sorry. I was just while the session started, I was just finishing with dinner, so I didn't want people watching me eating my dinner. Sorry, I'll just switch on the light. Yeah, I mean, I find it so brave for people to be able to just open up in a safe environment where people can just talk about their life journey and where they've gone through this roller coaster of emotions, most of all. And what I see is, I mean, I've gone through a life situation where I come from a very loving family, but I went through divorce, and the person I trusted ended up an abusive person, and it took me a long time to accept that I was living with a narcissist and he was abusing me. I wasn't ready to accept it, just because I knew that nobody would believe me in my personal life. And now that hearing you people, I'm like, I can talk about things in a way I'm not alone, and I can talk about it without feeling ashamed of being judged. One liner, if I can take from this entire session, is not everybody is for me, and I'm not for everybody. That's my one liner from this amazing inspiring session, because I have gone through a phase where my family completely made me feel like, oh, because I come from a cultural background where divorce is still a taboo. Like, you know, for the abusive words, you say the C word, you don't use the full word. You say the F word, you don't say the full word. Where I come from, you don't say the D word. You just don't say it. And it's like a big taboo. So for me, when I was I retracted my divorce application thrice. And I was like, am I really going to do it? And that gave the person a power over me that she's never going to take that step. And it was that need for acceptance from my people that and I did face a lot of rejection. People, why are you calling us? You're taking your own decisions. Why are you even calling us? Because I'm on my own in the UK and my entire family is in India, and I have no family here. So the only way to keep in touch with my people is through WhatsApp. And I found myself that I was calling the people and nobody was calling me back anymore. So like 10 calls, 12 calls, I was like, I'm going to stop calling people. I'm going to stop making myself feel that it's only me who's so needy. And literally nobody has called me, but they've started complaining that she's not calling. She doesn't call. I'm like, excuse me, I know back in the days when you would call from India, it was quite expensive, but you know, we live in a WhatsApp era. It's free. Internet is free. You guys can call as well. So now I've come to a decision that I am not going to look for. I just feel I'm breathing differently after this session. I'm physically feeling a difference, you know. I love this. Thank you, Ritu. And I do have a thank you. I do have a lot of questions, and I don't know how to approach the people who presented here. It's been amazing. I did have a lot of anger issues because I cannot tolerate lies and hypocrisy at all. If somebody lies to me, my ears start to become hot, and I can see something is going into my ears which my ears don't like, and physically they become hot, and I can feel that somebody's lying and I'm being lied to. So out of that, I react in anger, and I'm like, you're lying. And
so Manu, you can connect with the speakers on LinkedIn, and I think, am I right in saying that everybody has put their details in the chat? So if you look at the chat, you can actually save the chat to look back at it as well. But if you look at it, you'll see connection, links in there, and you can follow them. You can connect with them, reach out to ask for help. That's the whole idea of doing all of this. And you absolutely summed the whole thing that we do, Manu, that this is a safe space. This is a safe space for all of us. And this is the power of sharing stories, because when we actually connect with stories, as Carol said very rightly earlier, we don't know who is on the other side of the lens, who needs to hear this. And I have been impacted by this. I'm sure everybody else has been impacted by this, and we carry the light forward. That's what this is about. And James, I hope this makes it even more clear about women-only rooms that we were talking about earlier. We actually have been challenged. Carol and I both have been challenged together as a group and as individually as well, as women empowerment representatives, that why is it that you invite women alone in such groups? This is because women alone events still have a very special space. We are not anti-men in any way. We love having men on board because they are great contributors. They are very much a part and parcel of women empowerment movement. So Manu, I'm so pleased that you connected today and you found value here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was out of a sudden. I didn't have a plan to join. There's so many WhatsApp groups, and I was just flipping through, and I'm like, we've just started. I'm like, what has just started? And I just happened to click.
You're meant to be here tonight. Well done. Well done.
I'm so glad I did. And I am a child protection social worker, so I work with victims of domestic abuse, and I work with children who've been abused. So I have gone through serious PTSD and serious triggers, but I've got a lot of help through my GP, through everybody. I'm out of it, I think, now, because it doesn't affect me inside. I can talk about it. The fact that I can talk about it without feeling it inside, I think I'm out of it. But thanks very much. And Angela, thanks for the message. I will get in touch with you.
Awesome. Any more for any more?
I've got one for Christina. Christina, from looking at you on the outside, nobody could ever say, ever say, and most of us are like that. Nobody could ever say, looking at Angela, you know, she's been through what she's been through, or you've been through what you've been through. And that's the beauty of personal development. When you get on that journey and you're committed to making it better. And then on top of that, you just don't do it better for yourself. You get out there and you do the work and you make it better for others. Hats off to you.
Yeah.
You know, healing from all the trauma that you've gone through. And, you know, trauma is not single-layered, especially if you have more than one event. It will pile up, pile on. And then when you start working on it, you may hit some place where you start thinking, oh, this is it now, you know, I'm healed. And then out of nowhere, the slightest stuff, the most silly thing would trigger it off, something else off again, which was not the main deal, something peripheral, but that gets triggered. And then you start questioning yourself, hey, what happened here? I thought I was healed. And then, you know, and then there's something else that gets triggered in return. And then it goes on and on and on. Do you actually believe it's possible to heal 100%?
The beautiful thing about our subconscious, it's a blessing and a curse. But the blessing is you will suppress things that you can't deal with, that you can't cope with. So when it actually does come up into your conscious awareness, it means that actually you're ready. It might be difficult and hard to deal with. And also every level is a new devil, because you wasn't thinking about, for me, I wasn't thinking about stepping out, having my own business. So then all these things started to come, money mindset. Am I good enough? Can I do this? When I've healed from the actual trauma of child abuse and things like that. So I am aware that anytime I get further and further, even like today, when James was in here, I was like, oh my gosh, it's the first time I'm sharing my story. I thought it was women. And even that subconsciously, I was like, oh, but I know that, you know, to be the most flexible woman is going to make you succeed, make you get to where you need to be. So I face that challenge. So when I'm on a bigger stage, again, that's going to make me nervous. I'm going to be fearful, but it's about saying, you know what, I'm ready to face this and putting in the work. Because I know a lot of my friends that have become counsellors and therapists, you say to them, oh, let's talk about this. And they'll be like, oh, I don't want to talk. But how can you expect your clients to want to talk? So I believe that my journey is never over and it's going to be a continuous thing. And I always look to develop myself, learn myself, become aware and deal with whatever comes up.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Awesome. Any more for any more? I just want to say a very personal thank you to our speakers, because I think confirmation for your appearing tonight was months ago, and we're now finally here. And I thank you for just being here and sharing your truth, your story, your expertise with us. It's invaluable. And please do save the chat. There's some valuable links in there. So, Ritu, the floor is yours. Final words.
What can I say, Carol, apart from a big, massive thank you to all our wonderful speakers. It seems like we've done a journey in these last 2 hours. It absolutely feels very full.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's so much to take in. There's so much wealth of knowledge and expertise. Thank you so much, ladies, for sharing your wonderful journeys, your wonderful knowledge with all of us. We are ever so grateful that you decided to do this. Please stay connected. We are on Facebook, on Instagram, YouTube. So even if you just give us a like, stay connected, you'll be updated about all the wonderful projects we run. A big fat thank you to Carol for always showing up, always doing the right thing, bringing such quality people together. And it is absolutely safe to say that if Carol had not agreed to put the time, energy, and effort into our 2 ongoing projects, Women Empowerment and Men Are From Mars, it would have been difficult for us to carry on. So, Carol, I'm ever so grateful for you. Thank you so much that you said yes, and you continue to say yes. Thank you so much. And last but not least at all, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who joined us tonight and was with us on this beautiful journey of development, of understanding, of learning. Please do come back again. James, Dominic, I would personally want to invite you to our Men Are From Mars events, which happen on first Thursday of the month, where we have a mixed audience and mixed speakers. Thank you so much for staying with us for the whole time tonight. I appreciate your time and your presence here. And thank you so much. Stay connected. Please pass on the light. You're doing wonderful, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.